All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host for today's broadcast, Insane Layer 13, as we are about to get underway here for the 5th race of PTG's NASCAR series. Today's going to be a little interesting. This is our 2nd road course race of the year, but the more interesting thing is that we are looking at a race that will have some rain in it. Now, the big thing is that the race is going to start in the wet, but it's not going to be wet all the way through. We're anticipating about 25 to 30% of the way through the race, the track will start drying out. It's not heavy rain, so the circuit isn't super soaked anyway. Everything will dry out pretty early on. But the big interesting thing is that this means that the first few laps are going to be a lot slower. We're also likely going to see a lot of drivers make a pit stop relatively early in the event to get off of rain tires. I'm not going to confirm. There may be a possibility that someone might elect to try and run on the soft tires. Big thing to consider about running on the soft tires here is that the width of the tires on the stock cars are so bloody wide, you don't really have to worry about losing traction. So some drivers may elect to start on the soft tire compound. But as this is looking to be a wet weather start, be expecting a lot of drivers to see a lot of tire fall off in the first stint of the race. Wet weather tires usually have more reliability whenever the rain is heavier, but considering this is going to be looking at just a very light rain, I would very, very highly anticipate that we're going to see a lot of tire fall off and everyone will be pitting within about 3 laps of the rain stopping. Real quickly, let's go ahead and look at the championship standings as they are after last week's very interesting event at Indianapolis. I almost said Miami. One thing of note, there were no penalties given outside of a warning to the series hosts, oddly enough, for improper paint procedures. So no penalties for anything on track. In the championship standings, this is how everything sorted out. For the teams championship, it is a tie at the top of the teams fight between 2311 and PTG Little Shred. Third, they both have 169 points. Third place in the teams fight is Pendulum Tuning Garage. They have 157 points. Fourth is VER Dorinio. They have 142 points. And fifth is IFEA Racing. They have 133 points. In the Drivers' Championship, though, things have already taken a pretty significant turn. We already know who the favorite is going to be for the championship this season. At top of the championship standings is SRD Shredder with 168 points after that win at Indianapolis. Second is Dino Prime 77 with 154 points. Third is PTG Speed with 142. Fourth is VER TTJ 111. He has 140 points. Fifth is PTG Neb with 136 points. Sixth is NFL Racer 4812 133 points. Those 6 are your main championship contenders. There may be possibilities for other people coming to the championship fray, but realistically, those are the 6 we're looking at. In 7th is PTG Little Caesar with 121 points. In 8th is TNR Larry. He has 113 points. 9th is Deed Speedman with 109 points. 10th is TFB Matter. He has 96 points. 11th is Benimski with 77 points. 12th is PTG Wolfpack with 69 points. Nice. 13th is VER Razor. He has 60 points. 14th is Aidman 2005. Also sometimes go by Roachman 2004. He has 52 points. 15th is Yellow Miss 001 with 51 points. Then behind him is PTG Robo 611 with 48. VER AJ5 Gaming with 46. PTG Jammer, who also has 46. Egmar Melanie with 40. Maybe Racing 33 with 33 points. And Shoplifting at the bottom of the championship standings has 29 points at this stage of the season. So that is your general outlook for the championship standings. Realistically, for SRD Shredder, if he can just reliably come home in the... Okay. We are anticipating that the race is going to be a little slower in the early parts, but once we get into it, it's going to pick up quite a bit. The big thing is going to be focused on SRD Shredder. Shredder thought that he had a bad day at Watkins Glen 2 races ago. Mind you, in that event, he still finished 3rd. If Shredder can go ahead and bring home 3rd place finishes the rest of the season, it's likely he's going to walk off with this championship very early on in the season. And this isn't a normal NASCAR series. This runs by the, well, I'm not a fan of it, the general Forza community idea of having a season running about 8 to 16 weeks and then having a drop round or 3. This is a single drop round over 14 races. But if by the end of the season you already have a full race worth of points over the rest of the field, drop rounds really aren't going to hurt you. You'll have such a massive advantage over everyone else. Be aware also, our pole sitter is someone who's not run in this series before, and that is PTG Lucas. In fact, if you look at the qualifying order, assuming that my information that I got earlier was correct, 4 of the top 5 qualifiers are all from PTG. So for the Pendulum Tuning Garage, they are 3rd in the Teams Championship. This is one of their best chances to maybe turn their results around a little bit here. As I said, PTG Lucas is going to be qualifying up at the head of this field. For some reason, I'm not able to see a vast majority of the paints here. We're going to be right back. Just going to try and fix a little glitch here. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Indianapolis Motor Speed. We've been dealing with some frustrating technical difficulties here over the last few minutes. But the issues have been resolved. As you can see, we have not yet gotten underway here. However, we are looking at a 14-driver field. Some of the drivers today, PTG Neb is back in his 64 Mustang. VR Coca is making his first start in a NASCAR series in many years. He is the most winningest driver under all of Ludicrous Speed's prior NASCAR series with 9 total victories. He is in the number 7 Chevrolet. NFL Racer is back in his number 53 Chevy. PTG Lucas, your pole sitter, is in the number 92 in the Ford. PTG Wolfpack is in another Mustang, the number 51. Deet Speedman is back in the number 23 Camry. TFB Matter is in the number 91 Red Bull Chevy. TNR Larry B is in the 67 Camry. Dino Prime 77 is in his 77 Chevrolet. SRD Shredder is back in his number 10 Mustang. PTG Speed is in his number 40 Chevrolet. VER TTJ 111 is in his number 14 Mustang. PTG Robo 611 is back in his 61 Camry, and YOLO Menace 001 is also in his number 99 Camry, and those will be the 14 drivers that will be taking onto the track in today's event here. As we're just standing by, waiting to get underway here. Again, most of this race is going to be in the drive, but the opening parts will be on a wet track, as we do have light rain in the event. And now we're going to start ordering the grid up here. We'll be back shortly. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Indianapolis. As we're about to go underway here, the entire field has been set and grid ordered up. Excuse me. All right, real quickly, let's go ahead and look at the fuel range. We don't have any way to see what tires people are running, but our pole sitter is starting on a full tank of fuel. Real quickly, according to the secret data that I was given early on, fuel is going to go for roughly 26 laps in today's event. So this race is going to be a one-stop event if you didn't have to worry about the rain, but because of this rain early on, everyone's likely going to be pitting very early in the event. We'll likely be looking at two-stop strategy today. Nearly a full tank for Larry for Wolfpack, who won our last road course race at Watkins. He is also at just about a full fuel tank. In fact, I imagine the majority of this field will be starting on a full fuel tank or something very close to it. This is our championship leader. Shredder is running, yeah, everyone seems to be running pretty close to a full fuel tank in today's event, and we anticipate, though we cannot confirm, that almost everyone will be running on wet weather tires. Now, if we see someone significantly off the pace, they seem to be dropping time early on, there is a possibility, not a guarantee, but a possibility that a driver may be starting on the soft tires to begin today's race. And as the field is all gathered up, I want to take one last look at our last place qualifier, V.E.R. Coca. He had a little bit of a hiccup in qualifying and seemed to run himself out of fuel at the very end. Okay, as the field comes down for our second road course race of the season. 7 rows of 2, all through the field. Everyone's doubled up as they come to the line. We're going to go green flag once again here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And Lucas did not have any issue putting the power down. Shredder farther back is making it 3 wide. Coca is making it 3 wide at the rear of the field as well. Larry on the extreme outside as they both dive into turn number 1. There's a lot of beat and banging going on farther back. It looks like Larry has his nose ahead out of 2, but now we see Lucas has the inside going through 3, and he'll power his number 92 ahead. Lucas slides the car immediately in turn 4. He's really sideways. He twitches 3 times, and Larry goes through. And now here comes PTG Speed. The PTG driver's making a little bit of contact. Speed takes a long way around the escape route, and Lucas holds on to second just for the moment. Shredder is not really making a lot of movement, it seems, but they are 3 wide for third, just ahead of him. Nab is on the extreme inside, makes contact with Wolfpack, and here comes Shredder. He'll go around the outside. It will be 4 wide, and Shredder gets turned right in front of the field. He saves it. He puts his car up into the 3rd position, just ahead of Wolfpack, just ahead of Neb. Now Wolfpack slides right in front of Neb. The line opens up for PTG Speed. Speed pulls alongside, and it looks like on the extreme inside line, Speed will move up into the 5th position. But at the front, it is Larry B leading PTG Lucas at the head of the field here. And now they come through the final corner here at the Indianapolis road course here. Now it looks like Lucas is not really that far off. He's got good enough pace to keep up with Larry. And as they go down the long front straightaway here, the longest straight on this circuit, Lucas gets a big toe off of Larry. He looks to the inside. Is he going to go for a dive bomb going into turn number 1? No, he'll actually back out of it, let Larry hold the position. Lucas is trying to set himself up for a nice clean run through turns 1, 2, 3, and 4. Coming into turn 4, this is where Lucas slid wide last lap and lost a whole lot of time. He's much more stable this time, pulls up right behind Larry. They're just about nose to tail as they go through the back stretch chicane, and now down the back straightaway. And Larry is going to block. Lucas is going to look really deep. Lucas is going partially over that white line. Now they both wash just a little wide, but an active fight at the head of the field, and as longer these two continue to fight, it will bring your 3rd place driver, SRD Shredder, into the fray here. The entire field still seems to be relatively close together, although NFL racer PTG Robo immediately fell backwards. Here's someone you should really take an eye on, though. Coca started last. He's already made his way up into 6th position. And if you want to talk about people who are familiar with the Indianapolis road course, just a few weeks ago, Coca Gamer was running his Formula Ford car at the circuit in real life, and he was doing it in rainy conditions that were much more horrendous than this. I think if Koga could do that in those really tiny wheeled cars in real life, he should be in a fantastic position for today's event. I would not be surprised if he steals a top 5 result here. As we look at our leaders, Lucas runs right behind Larry. He goes to the inside. They're going to be side by side as they come down into turn number 1 again. Lucas is not going to back out of it this time, but both drivers compromise their lines, and Shredder is now right there on top of them. So we're starting to see the back 4 drivers in this field. Robo, Dino, and Yolo have really fallen off. Lucas went for a huge dive bomb, makes contact with Larry, slides his car. He's by. It was a big dive bomb, but he's through, but now he backs out of it just so they can both make it through the chicane, and here comes Shredder. Shredder is faster than both of them as they go down the straight. Larry moves all the way over to block Shredder. Lucas now has a line on the extreme inside. It is now a 3-driver fight at the head of the field here in Indianapolis. And no one seems to be able to get a really good run. Everyone is so focused defending and blocking everyone else that they're just kind of compromising, and we're not really seeing who of these 3 drivers really have a good run. And now here comes PTG Wolfpack into play, and he's going to be bringing PTG Speed with them as well. So it's a 3-car fight at the head, with 2 cars in 4th and 5th slowly closing that gap down. Well, that was pretty blatant. Well, maybe it wasn't a track violation. Track violation is supposed to be Forza Clean legal, but this circuit has quite a few holes in its Forza Clean mapping. So I do wonder how exactly that's going to be divvied out as this goes on. All right, and now you can see the top 3 all flying down the straightaway here ahead of Wolfpack. Larry defends the inside. Lucas needs to go to the outside. They'll be side by side again as they head into turn number 1. Lucas does the crossover, and around the outside, he'll clear Larry, but doesn't completely finish it. They make a little bit of contact. Now here comes SRD Shredder on the inside. He comes in, makes huge contact with Larry. And Lucas now gets into the lead. Does he finally have a shot to open up the lead gap to second place a little bit? On board with Larry, as you can see Shredder coming around the outside lane. Lucas broke so early, and Larry actually ended up hitting him from behind there. Now Shredder tries to get alongside Larry again. Can't seem to complete the overtake, and now we see Wolfpack getting alongside Shredder. And here comes PTG Speed. Remember, Speed right now is one of your championship contenders, second in the points, trying to make moves on SRD Shredder. I did get a chance to talk with Speed. Speed earlier in the week said he was really looking forward to this because once it was revealed that this race was going to have a little bit of rain, he was like, hey, look, I'm really good in rainy conditions. He's just not confident in what he can do when the track dries out. And VER Coca, who had made his way up in the 6th position, is already making a pit stop. And look at this. Speed, Wolfpack absolutely grinding on each other as they come out of the final quarter, and now they're flying down the straightaway, and it is PTG Speed who has made his way up into 3rd. Lucas is starting to scoot away from the rest of the field at the head of the field, and Larry B is starting to scoot away in 2nd as well. But again, we're going to see the handling of these cars change once the track starts drying out, and everyone's going to have to pit to get onto soft tires at some point. Drivers might not be as fast in the dry as they are right now in the wet. So now Shredder has gotten by Wolfpack, and he's going to get around PTG Speed. PTG Neb just a little bit farther back there in 6th. Now he's in a position to do something. Neb is one of those outside contenders for the championship fight here. Speed is in 3rd. Wolfpack makes a huge dive on Shredder for the 5th position. Shredder tries to come back, makes a little bit of contact, gets Wolfpack really sideways there. And at the head of the field, Larry is starting to run it back down on Lucas. Shredder now has the inside on Wolfpack as they head into the 2nd to last corner, going into this chicane. That's at the end of the lap. You have this hard 90-degree left-hander. This is the 2nd to last corner here. Wolfpack is all sorts of sideways. Shredder has nowhere to go, and now here comes PTG Neb on the outside. So SRD Shredder is not able to really put up the fight that we are anticipating him to be able to here in the wet circumstances, and now we're seeing Speed start to run away from the field just a little bit. Now Shredder pulls up alongside Wolfpack once more. And at the head of the field, it is still nose to tail. Larry stalks Lucas as they go through turns 1, 2, 3, 4 all over again. Lucas is a little sideways, but Larry has a nice wide line, not trying to really put any pressure or strain on the tires early on here. Real quickly, I just want to look at the tire life. Already in the 13% range, and we're only 7%. We're only on our 7th lap, 6th racing lap. So if you do the math, these drivers are burning through a little bit more than 2% of their tire life in a lap. I'll give you a slightly better number once these drivers are coming back to the start-finish line. But again, whatever number we get is going to be a little bit lower than what it actually would be, simply because the first lap is under pace speed. You're not really going to be stressing the tires a whole lot under full speed. So Larry stalks Lucas all the way around the circuit right now. PTG Speed has pulled away from the fight between Wolfpack and Shredder here. And as our leaders come through the final corner, I look at, we're 7 laps through, and we're looking at about 2 1/4 probably is the amount of tire life we're seeing these drivers burn up in a lap, every lap around here. And again, the other thing is we are anticipating that at some point the rain will stop falling, and once the rain stops falling, the track will dry up in about 4 to 5 laps. The lap times will go way up, but the soft tires are going to be what everyone will want to go on to. There is always an option to maybe go ahead and stick on the wets a little longer. The thing is that these wet tires that everyone is on right now, they are going to be falling apart and really burning up under dry conditions because they have grooves cut in them, and it causes the tire to lose a lot of its stability, and the tires will kind of jump apart and throw themselves to pieces. The top 2 are absolutely gone. This is our 3rd place driver, PTG Speed. 4th is PTG Wolfpack, and here comes Shredder again trying to get alongside. Can't make it stick. Everyone seems to be pretty even when it comes to both tire life and fuel right now. Mind you, VER Coca pitted extremely early, and he is now way off sequence from everyone else. He'll probably need a yellow flag to try and bunch the field up. But with how wide the circuit is and how much runoff there is, I could very easily see this race going flag to flag with no issues today. Lucas has a big twitch coming out of the final corner. Here comes Larry to the outside. We're going to have a drag race as they head down the straightaway this time. It looks like, though, Lucas is just a little bit more comfortable on that tighter inside line, and while Larry pulls up alongside when they head into turn 1, Lucas has the ideal lane of choice, and Larry could try to cross over the cut back on corner exit, but then that would screw him over in turns 2 and 3. So Larry just backs out and decides to run behind Lucas. Right now, it looks to me like Larry is just content to run behind Lucas for a moment and let the 2 of them try to pull a gap on the rest of the field at the moment. Also, while all this is going on at the head of the field, PTG Speed's gap to 4th place Wolfpack and 5th place Shredder is shrinking. So while Speed opened up a bit of a gap on them earlier, it is now going away, and PTG Wolfpack is starting to run down PTG Speed. Bit of a slide. You can audibly hear the tires really struggling to maintain grip there. You could actually see Wolfpack gain on the curbs, and the curbs hold water a lot more problematically than the normal racetrack does. The water gets in between the grooves, so even if the tire kind of deforms to melt, it will almost look like it's melting to like keep good grip on the curbs, you'll have sections that are just going to be bits of water. It really throws off the entire grip of the tires here. Meanwhile, at the front once more. Now Larry looks to the inside. Lucas moves down to a tighter inside line. So it looks like the top 2 are saying, okay, well, we've held back long enough. Let's start actually fighting for position again. We're well ahead of 3rd place. Both of our leaders really scrubbing their tires and putting their rubber under a lot of strain going through turn 4. Lucas had a good exit out of 4, but it did not have a good setup for him going through the chicane, coming onto the back straightaway, and now Larry is right there behind Lucas, has a draft, can tuck up right behind him, and just follow along. And now we look back to this fight, which is now a 3-way battle for 3rd place once again, as Wolfpack is tucked up behind PTG Speed. We know that Wolfpack is good on these road courses, but he really seems to be struggling with rear end grip every time they come around that right-hand corner just after the infield S's. Wolfpack absolutely slides the rear end of the car out and brings SRD Shredder right back behind him. But Wolfpack is really aggressive under braking. That seems to be where he's closing the most amount of time on PTG Speed, who's still in third position. Oh, and Wolfpack really wide in the final corner, dropped the tire into the dirt. That's going to hurt his momentum just a bit. Going down the straight, Wolfpack moves over to try and block SRD Shredder. Shredder's going to move to the inside. Wolfpack blocks again. As they head into turn number 1, Wolfpack is really sideways, but so is Speed. Shredder is the fastest of everyone in this three-way fight for third, but Shredder is again held up by Wolfpack. Now Shredder dives to the inside of Wolfpack going through turn 4. So now who's going to back out and who's going to have the better run through the chicane? Neither of them back out. Wolfpack just hip checks Shredder. Shredder takes a long way around. They still end up side by side as they go down the straightaway. And now we're seeing Shredder start to pull open a gap just a little bit here. Now Wolfpack on the inside, he can break really deep in. He's going to try and deny Shredder the ideal line into the S's. Shredder does not care. They make contact again. Wolfpack finally is forced to concede, and Shredder moves back into the 4th position just for the moment. The good news for PTG Speed, though, is that those two drivers lost at least a second fighting with each other, so now they are way off of Speed, so Speed's 3rd place position is preserved for a little longer. And once more now, we look at the fight at the head of the field. As we ride on board with TNR Larry B. You can still see droplets of rain coming down, keeping the track wet. Maintain that you will have to stay on these tires for a little longer. Guys, they're coming down to complete their 11th lap. Already 25% tire life on that left front tire. These drivers are burning through the tires faster and faster. As the rain doesn't end relatively shortly here, we could end up with a scenario where a lot of these drivers will be on just absolutely destroyed rubber, especially on their front left tire here. And the other thing is, fuel-wise, this should be almost a one-stop race if you save a little fuel. But with all this rain early on here, and the fact you're going to have to change, I think this is still looking like it will be a 2-stop event. But you're not going to be putting a full fuel load in on both of your remaining stops, I imagine. Not unless you really want to have that sensation of weight in the back of the car to try and force some extra grip and stability in the rear. That fight for 4th has not given up yet. Wolfpack and Shredder continue to go back and forth for that position, and now we're seeing that PTG Speed has really opened up the gap on them. Wolfpack has gotten far enough ahead of Shredder that Shredder now has to deal with the charge from PTG Neb. Neb really needs to get around Shredder if he wants any sort of shot at the championship. But the way this race is unfolding, though, it looks like this championship fight could just come down to just PTG Speed and SRD Shredder. Dino Prime, who was relatively consistent early on in the season, has just not been consistent enough. When Shredder's worst days are a 4th or a 5th place finish, being consistently top 5 is not good enough. Shredder can come out here and win almost any race. Right now, it looks like only Speed and Shredder are going to be real championship contenders as the season goes on. Again, we look at our lead duo, though. Lucas continues to lead. He's led not quite all the laps, but he has led a majority of the laps from the pole position. Had a big slide in that corner right there before giving the lead over to Larry for the first lap, but he got back by Larry on lap 2, and the two of them, they'll fight for about a lap or so, then they stop fighting, they just kind of run nose to tail for about 2-3 laps, open up the gap to 3rd position, and for the most part, I would like to say it's worked, but PTG Speed is so far away from the rest of the field, he is legitimately running our lead group down on merit. He's only at 26.5% tire life. I look at Larry, who is continuing to fight for 2nd. He is at 28% tire life. I look at Lucas, who is leading this little group. He is at 26, but he is burning up his rear tires. He is at 30% on that left rear. And again, that's the big thing. If Lucas is burning up the rear tires and Larry is burning up the front tires. Oh, and Larry gets into Lucas going through the second to last corner. Now he backs out of it, lets Lucas get the position back. But the big thing is, the way that's going to happen is that as Lucas's rear tires continue to burn up more than his fronts, it's going to be harder and harder for him to put the power down and get that good straight line speed. It's got to leave him a lot more open to attacks on corner exit and down straightaways. For Larry, though, that means that he is trying to attack, but he will be having a much, much harder time trying to turn into the corners. His issue is that he will be slower mid-corner. And then PTG Speed, who is in third, his tire life overall is looking better than either of these two. He's wearing his tires a lot more consistently around all 4 corners. We look once more real quickly at this fight, which is now for 5th, because it looks like Wolfpack has finally opened up the gap on Shredder. Shredder just does not seem to have what it takes to go really fast and efficiently here in these wet weather conditions. He's actually burning up his tires faster than almost everyone else around him, it would appear. Indeed, he's burning up his fronts faster than Wolfpack, but he's saving his rears a little bit better than Wolfpack. It seems like a lot of the PTG drivers are really aggressive, using the throttle to push them around the corners, but in the process, they're burning up the tire life of the rear tires. Larry seems to have a little bit different driving metric here. He is being a little bit more Oh, and Lucas slapped the outside wall, and now here comes Larry. Lucas defends on the extreme inside, and now Larry comes around the outside. Doesn't have enough momentum. He's not going to be able to make anything of it here. Lucas has the front end grip. He can turn in at leisure without issue, though. Larry is still dealing with tire fall off. Lucas is really sideways. He backs himself up and Larry up as they go through turn 4. Larry pulls up behind Lucas. Now he's going to go to an outside line, but you only have 670 horses in these cars. You're not going to have a lot of straight line speed. Larry tried to go for a big dive at the end of the straightaway, but Lucas is just so relaxed, so confident in his abilities, he's not going to fall for it. While it's not been every lap like pole, Lucas continues to lead here. We're going to ride on board with a lap on board with TNR Larry B, so you get an idea what a full flying lap is like on board this 67 Toyota here at Indy GP. Ladies and gentlemen, your eyes do not deceive you. We are still riding on board with TNR Larry B. But while we were away, Lucas had a lockup, got way too wide on the back straightaway, and not only threw away the lead, but fell about 125 feet behind Larry in the process, and now he's desperately trying to push his car to run TNR Larry B back down. So these two have been your only 2 leaders thus far in the event. The track is still wet at the moment as well. We'll cover that development a little bit more in a bit here. But it does look like, to us at least, that Lucas is really struggling with tire fall off. And again, there's a fight for fourth between PTG Wolfpack and SRD Shredder. Shredder pulling up alongside the inside of Wolfpack here. Looking at the tire life. 38 on the outsides for Shredder, pretty even. For Wolfpack, though, he's at 39s on the left rear, 36s at the front. So Shredder is burning up his fronts way faster than Wolfpack, and Wolfpack is only burning up his rears a little slower than Shredder. I feel like Shredder is just really struggling to balance track position and aggression with tire life, and that's the main thing that might really hurt him and keep him out of having a shot to fight for this race win here, because our top three drivers are absolutely gone compared to this fight that's been going on for a while for fourth position. Wolfpack slides in 3. Now Shredder comes around the outside. Outside's not usually a good move in 4. Wolfpack gives Shredder a bit of a hip check. Give himself a real tight line, and now here comes Shredder back. Wolfpack this time just kind of ignores the chicane. Shredder's going to follow alongside. Now Shredder tries to come to the outside. Wolfpack moves over, blocks the move. Shredder goes even wider now. And Neb is hanging out right behind, watching these two Fords fight. Wolfpack holds the inside. Now Shredder is on the outside. Neb continues to watch from just a little bit back. Shredder can get alongside Wolfpack, but getting alongside is not the same thing as making an overtake work. And now PTG Neb is back alongside SRD Shredder. Bit of a slide from Neb farther back. And now 5th and 6th. Both have a run. Both trying to figure out how do we get alongside Wolfpack. Shredder's going to dive to the inside under braking. Now he backs out of it. Now he lunges in. Side by side. They both go deep. Going in at 1. And here comes Neb by both of them. PTG Neb saw that coming. He just backed out of it. Let the two of them run themselves off. And now PTG Neb puts himself up into the 4th spot in his number 64 machine. That was a measure of discipline and maturity, and now Shredder and Wolfpack's fight has now gone to just being a battle for 5th, and Wolfpack is going to be absolutely livid. That was genius movement by Neb there. He saw them going really aggressive, and he just backed out, let the two of them go deep into 1, let them run themselves off track, and he sailed past with no issue. That was brilliant stuff there by PTG Neb. And despite all this, Shredder is still trying to deal and failing to effectively deal with Wolfpack just behind him. Meanwhile, at the head of the field is now TNR Larry B, who seems to have the hand on the field, as PTG Lucas 06 continues to run just a little bit behind. Larry takes a real tight inside line, trying to deny Lucas a shot at getting a draft. Lucas does still get a draft as they head down the very end of the straight, but he immediately has to jump onto the brakes. It does look like, though, Lucas is a little bit more reserved and seems to have figured himself and his car out a little bit more now that he is in 2nd position, watching Larry and reacting to whatever Larry does. 46% on that left rear tire, though, for Lucas. And I look at Larry on the other hoof, and he is at 44% on the left front. But the big thing is, if you look again at the telemetry, Larry has a small amount of engine damage, so he's not going to be burning through his fuel as fast, but more importantly, that's going to be the main thing that makes him slower in a straight line. That is the main reason why Lucas, despite having that really worn out set of rear tires, is still able to close in. And if you look here, the rain has stopped, ladies and gentlemen, and with the rain now stopping, we still have about 38, 39 laps left, and the track is not officially dried out yet. It will take a few more laps for the circuit to truly dry out, although it looks like Yellow Minutes, who is running in last position, has already jumped in the pit lane. He's not the only one. Here comes TNR Larry B. So Larry's going to go ahead and pit the instant the rain stops falling, but it will be Lucas, it looks like, who stays out a little longer. So PTG Lucas says, nah, track's not dry yet. I want to get a little bit more mileage out of these tires. Other thing to consider, if you can push the fuel tank out to 29 laps, you could make this event a one-stop affair. And could Lucas try and do that? It looks like he has the fuel to maybe go until lap 29. His problem will be the tires. SRD Shredder pitted, Deep Speedman pitted, PTG Robo pitted, but a lot of other drivers have not, and all the PTG drivers still run on track in the top 4 positions. The only exception is PTG Robo 611, who is buried way farther back in the field right now. We're also going to start seeing lap times real quickly start speeding up. I'm really interested to see where TNR Larry B ends up in relation to Lucas and where Shredder ends up in relation to Neb and Wolfpack, because they decided to pit early. By pitting early, they are 100% locked into a 2-stop strategy. For these drivers who have still not pitted yet, if you could stay out for another 7-8 laps, do you try and make it a single-stop affair? Another suggestion is that instead of putting on softs at the end of the race, do you elect to go ahead and put mediums on and run mediums instead? Okay, and now here comes our leaders, Lucas and Speed, both coming into the pits now. What of Neb? Neb pits, Wolfpack pits. Neb is really sideways coming into the pit lane. All right, so this is going to be the big thing to watch. TNR Larry B was just a little bit ahead of Lucas right before he made his stop. But between Lucas and Larry, who's going to end up ahead? And then after that, we'll keep an eye on Shredder and Speed and Wolfpack and Neb. NFL Racer stayed out for another lap, as has VER TTJ 111. But everyone else pitted or has made a stop. So NFL Racer and TJ trying to go really long on this stint. So Larry is already back up in the 5th. He's up to 4th. Where's Lucas? It looks like he's going to be ahead of Lucas. He is. And Larry is clear of PTG Lucas. What of Shredder and his fight with Wolfpack, Neb, and Speed? Well, he's already by Wolfpack. He's right behind Neb. He's got tires that are already nice and heated up. He rams Neb in the backside, but Neb has blocked him. So there's not a whole lot of movement between this duo. The big thing, though, is that Wolfpack is only about 8/10 of a second behind. If Shredder doesn't immediately dispose of Neb, he's going to have to deal with Wolfpack all over again. So now our focus goes to NFL Racer and TTJ 111. NFL is now our 3rd different leader today, but when will he elect to make his stop? Is NFL or TJ going to try and go to lap 29 and make this a single stop race? TJ says no, screw that, he's pitting now. So TJ is going to pit out of 2nd position. Shredder muscles his way by PTG Neb just out after they come out of the S's. Shredder goes back into what is 6th place, will eventually turn into 5th place once they get alongside and pass TJ in the pits. Neb has not let Shredder go yet. He pulled up behind the number 10 just for a minute, but now Neb has to deal with Wolfpack just a little bit behind. Wolfpack gets to Neb's rear bumper, tries to push him around just a little bit. And Shredder needs to do everything he can to absolutely run away from the field now. So, everyone here who has made a stop is likely locked into making a 2nd stop a little bit later in the event. NFL Racer at the head of the field, though, may be on a completely separate strategy. Is he going to try and make this a single stop affair at the head of the field? He has to push these wet weather tires super far, but he's got the fuel for it. It's just going to be a matter of will the tires last? Every lap that he knocks out now puts him closer and closer to making this a single stop race. And with the way the field has spread out, I think we can see this race go green flag to flag. NFL Racer could be trying to do the impossible and make a single stop strategy work. And even if that doesn't get him a win, cutting out an entire pit stop and basically maintaining your entire speed down the longest straightaway of the track for an extra lap could have a big positive consequence for NFL going forward. Even if he doesn't win, it still might put him in 3rd or 4th on strategy-based results. So the gap between Larry and Lucas has actually opened up to about 4 seconds after a pit stop. So Larry has absolutely run away from Lucas, and Speed is actually holding stage with Lucas, if not slowly closing in on him. So Lucas seemed to be very good in single lap performance, was relatively solid in the rain, but now as the track has dried out, it seems like other drivers around him have picked up their pace just a little bit. Shredder is currently in 5th position. Wolfpack runs just about a second behind, but Wolfpack is now trying to fight with PTG Neb to maintain his spot. But if Shredder has any hiccups, any issues, any slides, Wolfpack will immediately be right back there to fight with him again. Again, remember, Shredder pitted earlier than these two drivers, so Wolfpack and Neb will have a very slight positive tire delta going forward through the rest of the race. Once more, I look at NFL Racer at the head of the field. The big thing he's going to have to remember is that, yes, he may be in a relatively decent position on fuel right now, but the track is dry now. You can spend more time on throttle, and you're going to be going a lot faster. That means that you're going to be burning up a lot more fuel. So if he ends up in a position where making it to lap 29 is a really, really hard ask now on fuel, he may not be able to make it to the end on just one more stop because he's not going to have 16, 17 laps where he's not burning as much fuel early on. He's going to still have to make another stop, maybe a splash and go near the very end of the race. So, we're still watching NFL Racer. Will he make it to lap 29? He needs to complete this lap, then 6, 7, 8, and 9. So he's basically got to do 5 more laps with 12% left in the tank. If you do the math, if he's running about 2.1 to 2.2% of the fuel tank in a lap, he can make that work. If he's burning more than that, those numbers are not looking good for him. And for SRD Shredder, I got bad news for you. He is not that far away from Wolfpack or Neb, and while this duo continues to fight, it seems pretty obvious to me that Wolfpack is a little bit stronger than Neb, should be able to start gapping Neb, and Shredder may have to start defending from PTG Wolfpack in a little bit here. Into the S's once more they go. TNR Larry B has just about caught NFL Racer. Has something gone wrong with NFL? Did he go into a wall or something? No, but it looks like he has given up. And NFL Racer has given up on trying to make this a one-stop event. So everyone is locked into 2-stopping this race. The only good news for NFL is that he will now have a massive positive tire delta going forward, but he will have lost a lot of time on those burnt-out wet tires on a completely dry track. He's going to be way farther back from where he was earlier. There's a bold strategy, but it looks like it's just not going to pay off. All right. So while we continue to watch this fight between Wolfpack and Neb, we're going to try and knock out an ad break to stay ahead of Twitch's mandatory ads. We'll be back in about a lap and a little bit of change here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway Road Course as Wolfpack has a big slide in 3, and Neb gets alongside. Neb gets past in 4. It looks like Neb has a position back. Maybe we don't go a break yet because this is honestly may have just heated up. Down the back straightaway is Wolfpack going to go for a big dive into... No, he's actually going to be a little bit restrained. All right, we'll be back after a little bit here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Welcome back to Indianapolis Motor Speedway's Roval here. We are not quite halfway through the event in distance, but I believe in overall time we are about halfway through the event, assuming no yellow flags. TNR Larry B continues to lead at the head of the field. He has maintained a gap between 3.5 to 4.5 seconds over PTG Lucas. PTG Speed was closing in on Lucas for a bit. However, it seems like that has stopped. Our top three drivers all seem to be stabilized in position. The fight is really for 5th right now, maybe 4th if Shredder has an issue. But Neb got by Wolfpack after Wolfpack made a bit of a mistake. And while Wolfpack does seem to be a faster driver, he is showing himself to be much more mistake-prone. And Neb is going to go the long way around Yellow Menace. Yellow Menace tries to hold the inside line. Wolfpack's going to go to the inside. Wolfpack gets by. He's sideways in the braking zone. Holds the inside line. He's going to pull alongside Neb. And now Neb will have the inside line again through the second to last corner. He botches it. Yellow Menace hits Wolfpack from the side. And Neb holds station. And Wolfpack is going to be absolutely furious, but Yellow Menace's defense, I don't know what kind of line Wolfpack was going for there. That was never going to work out. So Neb maintains 5th position for a little bit longer. So now, you're in the middle stages of the event. About halfway through exactly. Real quickly, let's look at our lead group. The big thing to consider. Larry pitted the moment the rain went away. Did not waste any time with letting the track dry out. So he has now actually burned a little bit more of his tires than second place has. He'll have to pit about a lap earlier, roughly, than second place. He's at 25% on that left front. For PTG Lucas, who is running in second right now, he is only at 20.5 in the left front. He is at 22 in the rears. That's been the thing with Lucas, whether it's been dry or wet, he burns his rear tires up much faster than his fronts. Then you get to PTG Speed, who is running in 3rd position right now. He is at 20% almost all the way around, nice and even tire wear for PTG Speed. The big advantage of having a really nice and even amount of tire wear on all 4 corners, that means that the car is going to handle a lot more stably, and you can push the tires a lot deeper into the run before you really start having ridiculous fall off. It makes the car just more consistent, more stable. For those of you who watch this race, who also see when I cover tour events or IFEA events, Scored Buffalo 31 runs in a lot of tour events that I've broadcasted, and he runs a lot of IFEA events. And Scored Buffalo is infamously good at going super deep into tire runs by just maintaining a good tire wear balance on all 4 tires. That has worked out fantastically for him, giving him many stint wins, result wins. He's won a championship in ISC's GT3 category before, just off the back of being able to push the tire so much farther. Now, I'm not saying that Speed is at the level of Scored Buffalo, but I am saying that Speed is setting himself up to have a lot more strategy options going forward in this event. One other driver that's worth talking about is NFL Racer. Why talk about him? Because he was the last driver to pit and put on the slicks. And it's not like, oh, he was just slightly the last. He was the last driver to pit by a very large margin. He waited a very long time to make his final stop. Went to about lap 26 before pitting, about 25, 26, somewhere around there before pitting. Now, we thought maybe he was going to go to try and do a one-stop strategy. That is not the case. He is still out here running and will be on an alternate kind of 2-stop strategy where his final stop comes much, much later in the event. But still, NFL Racer is going to have a significant positive tire delta pretty much until he makes his next stop and everyone else around him makes a stop. With NFL running more reliable tires that can go a little farther, this could end up working fantastically in his favor long term. He's not, however, going to be able to factor in for top 5 finishing positions like we thought he might have been able to do if he could make it a single stop affair. SRD Shredder has really pulled away from this fight for 5th between PTG Neb and PTG Wolfpack, and now we want to talk real quickly about the championship fight between PTG Speed and SRD Shredder. Reminder, SRD Shredder has opened up a pretty substantial lead in the championship points coming into today's race. If you go ahead and look at the standings going in, PTG Speed had 142 points, SRD Shredder 168. So that is a 26-point swing. If they finish where they are right now, the difference between 3rd and 4th in points is only 2 points. While for PTG Speed, I'm sure anything would be positive, 2 points when you have a gap that is more than 12 times that is just not going to be enough to work out in your favor here. All right, this is a little bit farther back in the field. Dean Speedman and Dino Prime having a bit of a scrap for 10th position. Early on, Dino looked like he was a championship contender. Now, I hate to say it, but it looks more like he is a championship faker. He is not going to be a championship contender on merit, it would seem, across this season. Normally, his strength is being consistent, coming home top 5 throughout the entire season. He is nowhere near the top 5 right now today. In fact, at the moment, he is at a risk of maybe going a lap down to our leaders, TNR Larry B and PTG Lucas. In fact, right now, I would argue that everyone from about 7th on down is at risk of maybe going a lap down by the end of the race, all depending on what kind of lap times our leaders set as this race goes on. Yolo Menace has gone a lap down very early, but along with VER Coca, he had to make an early pit stop while the race was still under rainy conditions, so I'm not sure if they just didn't get enough fuel in the car. I'm not sure if he was trying some really radical alternate strategy that didn't work, but either way, Yolo Menace has gone a lap down some time ago, and he's basically been trapped there. If we get a yellow flag, he will cycle back onto the lead lap. But as it stands right now, it seems like any possibility of a fight for that is going to be just about dead. And basically every other spot in the field is not really in a battling position. It's just Dean Speedman and Dino Prime. Frustrating thing for the 2311 team, that is Medeski, who won at Miami but has not been able to attend a race since, and Dean Speedman here. Those are the two drivers. They were leading the Drivers' Championship earlier in the season. This result's not going to help. Now, they do have TNR Larry B, who is at the head of the field. That could help them a little bit. But overall, it's been Dean Speedman and Medeski who have been seen as the main drivers in the team. With one of them not showing up and the other just not performing, they've really need to rely heavily on TNR Larry B here in the mid-stage of the season just to try and give them some sort of result going forward. As Yolo Menace that this duo is coming up on. And says screw this, he'll take the escape route and just kind of cut the chicane a bit just so he can get by lap traffic here. Now Dean Speedman is going to go for a big dive on the inside, and he will clear Yolo Menace in the process of making that stick. All right, real quickly, let's look at our leader and see what their tire life is looking like. When are they going to make their next stop? They're at 38% right now, and they've been on these tires for about 14 or so laps. You do the math, 14 to 38, we're looking at about, what, about 2.5% a lap, somewhere around there. If Larry and everyone else is burning through their tires at about 2.5% a lap, we're likely going to have to see them come in. Let's think here. 2.5 goes into 60. Assuming that you pit when your tires hit 60, there'd be 21 laps. So yeah, I think we could see a lot of these drivers pitting around lap 42 to 43 here, and then throw on another set of softs and have a big run to the finish here. The NFL racer, he is pulling away from PTG Robo. Is he in a position to maybe catch VER TTJ going forward? Reminder for TJ, he has been the only driver in the VER camp who has shown up for multiple events thus far this season. Throughout most of the races, TJ has been the only driver on his team representing. Now, I don't know if Coca is running under the VER banner as well, or if he's just here as a one-off, so he's not going to be earning points for that team. But TJ, in either scenario, is still set to be well ahead of Coca and would be, again, the only driver on the Velocity Endurance team to actually get points results. It's just not looking good. He's not done horrible, but he obviously does not have anything close to the pace of our race leaders right now. All right, we're going to go on board and ride with TNR Larry B for a lap in the dry, so you get an idea what a flying dry lap looks like here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway Road Course. All right, and that was a flying lap on board with TNR Larry B here. His gap over PTG Lucas has stayed stable after they both made pit stops. PTG Speed has lost ground on our top two. SRD Shredder has maintained his ground on PTG Neb, but hasn't really been in a position to close in on PTG Speed. But for Shredder, if you're only going to lose 2 points when you have a 28-point lead coming into this event, I'm going to be 100% honest, it just looks like there is not really any risk or concern that he has to worry about. Fourth place would still be a very respectable showing by SRD Shredder today, and he would, while PTG Speed would take over second in points, overall Shredder's lead over second in points would extend, just because Dino is buried back there in 10th and is just nowhere near to being competitive throughout this race today. Neb seems to have stabilized his position over Wolfpack, so it seems like in the wet, Wolfpack had the advantage, but now in the drier conditions, Neb is actually the one pulling away from Wolfpack. And again, Wolfpack was the one who won at Watkins Glen. A lot of people kind of had circled him and pencil on the roster list saying he's going to be fighting for the win. He's going to be out here going for the win today. That has just not been the case. Wolfpack, while he has fought as high as third position throughout the event, he has been fighting with Speed, Shredder, Neb, and all the while he has been hemorrhaging time as this race goes on. If anything, there is a higher likelihood that we'll see PTG Neb possibly run SRD Shredder down here as the event goes on. And even then, it's going to be a very, very iffy if that actually happens or not, because it's one thing to try and catch the person ahead. Getting past is something way harder, and for the most part, overtaking with these big, heavy cars around the circuit has been just about impossible for most of these drivers. Neb only got by Wolfpack and Shredder earlier because Shredder made a big dive on Wolfpack that run both of them off the racing line. TFB Matter is pitting now with about 20 laps left in the event, so Matter will go a lap down. But the interesting thing for Matter is that with him making that stop now, he is now ahead of everyone else on pit stop strategy. Maybe he's hoping that by doing that, it will put him in a good position going forward. It's a bold strategy, Pat, and let's see how it plays out. Koka has actually running a little bit of engine damage at this stage of the event, yet he still seems to be running down the two drivers ahead of him. Now, Dean Speedman also is running with a little bit of engine damage, and I look at Dino Prime, who's just ahead. No engine damage, he just seems to be slow at this stage of the event. Then, 9th place, PTG Robo. No engine damage, but his tires are just about cooked on the rears. NFL Racer is in 8th. We know that he can go much, much deeper into the stint than everyone else because he has so much more life on the tires. but he is going to have to pit one more time. There's just no way around that. He will have a nice short pit, though, and he'll likely have better tires to the end. The driver he has been gradually running down is this man, VER TTJ 111, who is wearing up his front tires. TJ also has a lot of engine damage, and that is one of the main things that is keeping him well away from our top 6 drivers. It is a big gap until he gets to 6th place. This is PTG Wolfpack. He has not got any engine damage, but here's the interesting thing. He is low on fuel compared to the drivers directly around him. He will likely have to make a pit stop a little sooner than we think. PTG Neb is just about out of fuel. He'll likely be paying in the next lap or two just to try and throw enough fuel in to go to the end. He'll be doing 18 to 19 laps in the final stint. He also has a bit of transmission damage, and here comes Neb into the pits. And PTG Speed has also pitted out of 3rd position as well. SRD Shredder is staying out a little longer. Shredder put on a full fuel tank. His tires still have a little bit of life in them as well. TNR Larry B at the head. Well, actually, let's look at Lucas, who is in 2nd. Remember, Lucas pitted a lap later than Shredder and Larry. He still has got a little bit of fuel left, but look at those rear tires deep into the 52s and wear. And then Larry, who is currently leading at this stage of the event, he's at 55%, but only on one of the front tires. He's likely going to be paying either this lap or next lap. So we are now in the middle of the final round of pit stops in today's event. Shredder pitted early out of 3rd, and he did that Shredder stayed out while Neb, who just caught Shredder in a fight for 4th, pitted. So Neb is now going to have at least one lap of positive tire delta over Shredder. Remember, Shredder has a lot more fuel in the car. His tires have a lot more wear on them as well. So what that means is that Shredder is going to be losing time right now, but when he makes a pit stop, it will be spending less time in pit lane because he does not have to put as much fuel in. Lucas now pits out 2nd. What will our 3rd place driver, SRD Shredder, do? Yet Shredder doesn't have to do anything crazy. As long as he can stay ahead of PTG Neb, he should be fine. All right, here comes Shredder. So Shredder is going to pit now. We'll only have to put about 18 laps worth of fuel into the car. He has all sorts of sideways coming in the pits. What about PTG Speed compared to PTG Lucas? Speed was already in 3rd. By pitting a lap early, does this give him the chance to try and run down on PTG Lucas at all? As VER TTJ 111 there in 5th. TJ has not yet made his 2nd stop of the day. He also has a little bit of engine damage, and an NFL racer runs just a little bit behind on a wildly alternate strategy, but he will have to pit sooner rather than later, and NFL will likely also not have to put as much fuel in the car when he makes a stop, so he'll likely have a relatively short stop as well. And it looks like in the end, Lucas is going to still be ahead of PTG Speed. In fact, he's still maintained most of his gap, so it looks like that has not really changed anything. TJ in 4th. All right, and here comes Larry into the pits now. So Larry is pitted 2 laps later than PTG Speed, 1 lap later than Lucas. So he will have a positive tire delta compared to all those drivers coming to the end of this run here. This also will likely put Dietzman back on the lead lap, even if briefly, as Dietzman was one of the earlier drivers to pit under this final set of green flag stops. We have not had any yellow flags in today's event. Everyone seems to be able to keep their car on track, pointing straight. It's been a relatively relaxed, calm affair. Once the rain went away, everyone seems to have pretty much stabilized in their positions where they were. We will keep an eye on the fight between Dino and Coca, though, because those two drivers have yet to pit, and they are actually actively in a fight. And Coca basically is trying to drive himself back from making an extra pit stop early in the event. There was a likelihood that he's going to go a lap down, and here comes PTG Robo, Dino Prime, and VER Coca all at the same time. So where is Dietzman going to end up in relation to Robo, Dino, and Coca, as Dietzman pitted a little bit earlier than those drivers? Keep an eye on that. The thing we'll be keeping an eye on is that once TNR Larry B goes back by the start-finish line, that should fix the ticker, and we'll see where the actual gaps are between the majority of the field here. TJ and NFL are going really deep into this fuel and tire run. Again, TJ has engine damage, but he is going very, very deep with the tires. We'll be going for really short fuel, and then NFL Racer is going to be doing something a little similar. But the big thing is that NFL has not worn out his tires to yellow yet. He does not have any engine damage. When they pit, I imagine that NFL racer should be right on top of or ahead of TJ once they make their stops. And after making his stop about 2 laps earlier, Dean Speedman has actually ended up behind Coca. Not that far behind, that much farther behind Dino though. And finally, the ticker is starting to fix itself there. TJ and NFL are going very, very deep into the stint before making their final stops. And this is really the last one, the last battle that's really worth watching here. Here's the other thing. SRD Shredder and PTG Neb. Neb needs to get alongside Shredder and get past him if he wants to stay in championship contention. And it seems like Shredder is showing a little bit of weakness. Reminder, Shredder pitted earlier than PTG Neb. So Shredder is going to have a tire disadvantage to Neb. Well, no, Neb pitted earlier than Shredder. I am wrong. So Neb will have a tire disadvantage to Shredder going through the rest of the event. And Wolfpack is right there again, and Yellow Menace factors into the fight once more. Shredder got knocked wide, Neb backed out of it, and Wolfpack shoots by Neb. And Wolfpack hits Shredder, and now Menace goes back into the dirt, and Neb is back by Wolfpack. Shredder still maintains 6, but Neb is still there. Wolfpack is there despite everything that happened. All 3 of them are basically where they were before they caught traffic. All right, TJ is pitted a little earlier than NFL now. He'll only need to put about 15 laps of fuel in the car, 15 laps of fuel in the car. NFL race will have to put even less in. So this is the fight for 5th. We'll eventually turn to the fight for 4th because we know that NFL racer will have to pit one more time here. Does Neb go for a move? No, he's going to be a little bit relaxed. He's just trying to put pressure on SRD Shredder, trying to make that number 10 machine make mistakes and slide off track. All right, Neb pulls up behind Shredder. He's got a big draft on him. Going down the back straightaway. Does he make a dive? Does he make a move this time? No, not this time. He backs off a little early. Just hanging out behind the 10, not really trying to put the car physically alongside. Neb picked up positions earlier by letting other drivers make some mistakes. And I imagine that's what he's trying to do now. The thing is, if you're too relaxed, Neb might end up getting caught by Wolfpack. When they were dealing with the lap car Yellow Menace, we saw Wolfpack briefly get alongside and then pass Neb. All right, NFL racer finally makes a stop. So NFL racer will only have to put about 13 laps worth of fuel in the car. So NFL racer and TJ will have the freshest tires out of everyone in the field. They are going to be so far away from the battle of the top 6 that they're not really going to have an impact on anything. Down the straight again. Neb has a draft off Shredder, and Wolfpack has a draft off both of them, but nobody in this trio are close enough to actively fight for position. After making pit stops, Lucas has closed the gap down between 1st and 2nd to just 3.2 right now. But it does seem like, for the most part, Shredder has this covered as long as he doesn't make any mistakes. We're going to knock on that break here, and then after that, we will follow the field to the end of the race, assuming we still go green the rest of the way. We'll be back shortly here at Indianapolis. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for ads. Welcome back to Indianapolis as we continue to watch this battle for 5th. This is the most active battle on track right now, although there is a bit of a stalking battle for 10th between Dino Prime 77 and VER Coca. And we'll stay with you to the end of the race here at Indianapolis. Reminder of these 3 drivers, PTG Neb pitted earlier than SRD Shredder, but he's not really pushing the tires very hard. He's not diving into corners. He's not really going for any big moves. He's just following behind the number 10 machine. I have to wonder, is Neb just hanging out behind Shredder, trying to put aerodynamic pressure on Shredder, trying to put some driver pressure and mental pressure on the number 10, make him make some personal mistakes, and then get by him a little later? Shredder's made a big mistake there in the second to last corner, and Neb's actually committing to a move. He's on the outside. They make a little bit of contact. Neb's through the dirt. He's wide. And that gives Shredder a fantastic run onto the straightaway compared to Neb. And now Neb is back and going to have to deal with PTG Wolfpack again. And I was just saying, well, it looked like Neb was holding back, being a little bit more relaxed, but he finally went for it. He finally tried to make a move, and Shredder ran him off the circuit. But Neb is already immediately right on SRD Shredder's rear bumper again. 22.7 on the left rear for Neb. For Shredder, 20.9 on the left front. And then compared to them all, PTG Wolfpack, 24.2 on the left rear. That tire life gap between Shredder and Neb is not nearly as aggressive as I thought it would be. Neb could be trying to set himself up, make a move on Shredder in the closing moments of this race, if not earlier. And Shredder keeps making mistakes like he's just done again in the last little bit. Now Neb is on Shredder's inside, but Shredder comes down, cuts down, blocks the 64 machine. Again, Shredder has a better run, coming onto the straight. Neb has Shredder's draft, and Wolfpack has the draft off of Neb. In fact, Wolfpack is in a fantastic position to make a big dive bomb on the 64 this time. Does not go for it. They're all nose to tail for 4th, 5th, and 6th, going through turns 1, 2, 3, and 4 again. This is the 10th to last lap in the event. I really feel that Neb is intentionally not making any crazy big moves. Neb knows that he does not have anything for the top 3 drivers. Neb knows that 7th place and back is way too far behind to have an impact. So he's being calm, he's being relaxed, and just hoping that the race comes back to him. Hope that Shredder burns his tires up, dealing with the pressure from the 64 behind. But could Shredder be trying to snooker Neb and Wolfpack into a mistake as well? If Shredder continues to intentionally make mistakes in these last 3 corners, force Neb to run alternate lanes. It will force Neb to burn his own tires up faster, and Neb will be back to being at a tire disadvantage. Again, Neb looks to the inside Shredder going through the last corner. Again, Shredder cuts the momentum. This time, though, Neb is a little farther from Wolfpack and a little closer to Shredder. Oh! Shredder let off really early, and Neb ran to the back of Shredder, and Wolfpack ran to the back of both of them. And while all this is going on, at the head of the field, it's still a stalking battle, but Lucas has closed the gap down to less than 2.5 seconds between himself and Larry B. So the fight for the race win may not be completely over yet. Neb has gone for a move to the inside of Shredder, going down the back straightaway. Side by side to the S's, Shredder gives Neb a hip check, and Shredder goes back to the position. Wolfpack is all sorts of sideways trying to pull alongside Neb coming out, but that corner has probably been Wolfpack's weakest corner throughout the entire day. I think Neb is done with being relaxed. He is actually going out and actively trying to force Shredder into making some mistakes here. This time Shredder has the inside line, and Neb is just going to follow behind. He's just a little bit closer to the 10 this time. Track is really rubbered in at this stage of the event. All right, Neb again has a draft off of Shredder. But again, the way this is going, Neb does not, I don't imagine Neb has the ability to just get muscles out and force his way by the number 10. In fact, if anything, I think it's more likely that Neb, being so patient behind the 10, is going to lose a position to PTG Wolfpack. Again, Wolfpack slides out the rear tires through that corner. Wolfpack is really good at setting himself up going through all of the S's, but that last right-hand corner, he loses it all, slides the rear end out as he's burning up his tires in the process. All right, Shredder had a really good run to the final corner this time. I think this fight for fourth is pretty much over. Neb is not showing any ability to actively fight with Shredder for position. Wolfpack is now right behind the 64. Does he make a dive into the corner? Neb closes, well, Shredder broke early, Neb broke late, and he pulled up right behind Shredder's number 10 once more. Every time I think that this is over, Shredder backs it down, woes his pace up, and immediately brings Neb back into the fray again. Shredder's at 32% on his most worn tire. For Neb, he is at 35. No, he's only at 33. So the tire wear difference between them is now only about 1%. So by being a little bit more relaxed and a little bit more calm in the first half of this tire stint, Neb is giving himself an advantage. He goes around the outside of Shredder. Wolfpack to the inside. Wolfpack hits Shredder. Shredder hits Neb. They're all on top of each other. Coming around onto Speedway turn 1. Neb on the extreme inside. This is not where you want to be. Shredder tries to defend the inside against Wolfpack. Neb loses out to both of them. And now Shredder and Wolfpack side by side in the following corner. Here comes Neb around the extreme outside. Shredder inside. Neb outside once more. And it'll be side by side as they come onto the straight. Shredder has the inside again. Neb on the outside. Shredder has the ideal line, but does Neb try and force Shredder to outbrake himself? Neb breaks very early, and now Wolfpack goes for a big lunge and nearly turns Neb in the process. Now Wolfpack gets back to the inside of Neb. Neb takes the wider line, does not want to get into it. These two are fighting with each other. Wolfpack forces himself alongside Shredder. Here comes Neb to cross back over. There are 3 wides that go through the chicane now. There's still 3 wide onto the back straightaway. Shredder to the extreme inside, Wolfpack in the middle. Neb backs out of it. He wants these two to maybe make a mistake so he can sail by like what he did earlier. Into the corner, Wolfpack moves right into Shredder. Shredder holds station. Now Neb goes to the outside of Wolfpack. He'll get by the 51. And now all 3 of them are back in the positions where they were earlier. It's 5 laps to go as the leaders across the line. Lucas has cut the gap at the front down. Did a little bit of about a second and a third. No, I take that back. They're on top of each other. This is not a second and a third. These two are right on top of each other now. The fight for the race win is on, and the fight for third is on as well. But does Lucas actually have anything to get by Larry? He's at 38% on his most worn tire. For Larry, his most worn tire, he's at 35%. But Larry has a bit of engine damage, and that could be the thing that swings this in Lucas's favor, as Lucas does not have any engine damage at this stage of the event. Once more, look at his battle for fourth. Shredder has Wolfpack right behind. Neb seems to have fallen off a little bit But I don't know, is he saving himself for a big run the last few laps? Is he trying to hope that these two make a mistake, or is he actually burned up everything that he's got in the car? Wolfpack makes a big dive bomb on Shredder, coming out to the end of the back straightaway, into the S's once more. Wolfpack is by, Neb gets alongside, but Shredder forces him offline. Neb falls back to 6, Shredder holds on to 5th, and again Wolfpack slides out of that corner, and Shredder immediately starts running the gap back down as they go by Yellow Mist for what is their 3rd time in today's event. And at the lead, Larry still holds station over Lucas. In the fight for 4th, Wolfpack is ahead of Shredder. Right now, speed is Wolfpack's biggest fan. The more positions that Wolfpack loses here, the closer and closer PTG Speed can close in the championship fight. Shredder is right behind Wolfpack. Is he going to make another big dive bomb like something like we've seen earlier? He pulls up alongside. They make contact. They're braking. They're both sideways. They're sideways through 2 as well. Here comes Neb. He's going to make it 3 wide just for the moment. And Neb around the extreme outside is by Shredder, but he's not completed the pass on Wolfpack. Now he does, as Wolfpack and Shredder get into it. Neb is by them all. Is that going to be all that Neb needs to take home 4th? Wolfpack and Shredder continue their very aggressive fight now for what is now the 5th position. And if these two continue to fight this aggressively, Neb will scoot away a bit. All right, this is the corner where Wolfpack usually bleeds off most of his speed. And boy, does he bleed off a lot of speed there. He's into the dirt. He's off. And that any chance that Wolfpack had at stealing 5th is gone with that. And now Shredder just has to try and run Neb down. When these two hit the line, it will be 3 laps left for them. But at the front of the field, Lucas has caught TNR Larry B. Larry opened up a big gap over the first run on the soft tires in the drive. But now in the second run, Lucas has gradually whittled it down. And Larry, dealing with a little bit of engine damage, now has to try and hold off Lucas when Lucas has fresher tires, and Lucas will have a little bit more straight line speed. Lucas comes around the extreme outside. Larry has a nice proactively defensive line. He'll hold station as they go through the S's once more. There is a little bit of traffic up ahead that these drivers will have to deal with. That is Deedspeedman, who is running in 12th. But I don't know if they will catch him on the last lap or if they'll just barely miss him. But the fight at the lead, for the lead of this race, continues to be very aggressive here. Shredder has just about gotten caught by PTG Wolfpack again for 5th, so we may cut back to that fight in the last lap. Down the straight, Larry goes, defends the extreme inside. Lucas is going to follow him all the way down. Now Lucas is going to go to the outside. It is 2 laps to go. This race is officially going to be green, flag to flag, but that doesn't mean it's going to be a walk away. These two have been going at it over the first about 16, 17 laps of the race. And it looks like they're going to go at it real aggressively over the last 8 to 9 laps as well. Larry, running defensive lines, still holds the lead. They pull up briefly side by side, but as they come out of the chicane and onto the back straightaway, Larry has position. Lucas has more straight line speed though. He doesn't have any engine damage. He pulls the car halfway ahead, about 3/4 of the way ahead. Under heavy braking now. Larry has the inside line. Lucas has the wide line. They'll be side by side going through the S's. Larry goes deep in. Lucas falls back behind. Oh, and he turns up! And Lucas turns Larry at the head of the field! He backs out, lets Larry get going again! They're both about 16 seconds ahead of 3rd place, so they can afford to be a little aggressive like that. Well, you saw that there. It was obviously not intentional, but Lucas got into Larry, turned him. Is there any damage to either of the cars? No damage to Lucas. As they come to the white flag, one of Larry, does he have any more damage? Says that his engine damage is gone. That's weird. So Larry still leads. Lucas has used up everything he can. They car across the line to take the white flag. This is the final lap of the event. These two are still in a position where Lucas could make some big Hail Mary sins on Larry. They still got over 14 seconds over PTG speed right now. Larry is really wide in turn 4. That brought Lucas up alongside. Side by side, Lucas hits the dirt as he just cuts the chicane. He'll actually lose time in the process. He falls back in line behind Larry. As they go down the straight, they are not going to deal with deep speed. And Lucas has a gigantic dive at the end of the straight. He goes deep. He gets the lead. Larry's got a crossover on corner exit. Side by side through the S's once more. He'll make contact. Lucas is through. Lucas is through on the final lap. There's only one potential overtaking zone left. Was that all that will take for Lucas to take the win? Larry has not let go away yet. Lucas has the lead. Larry goes to the extreme outside. Lucas going to defend inside. Now through the last 3 corners, Lucas has it. Larry lunges to the inside. Lunges again. They make contact. Lucas is sideways. Larry is sideways to the last corner. I think Lucas is going to have it. They're going to be bumper to bumper. And now Lucas is wide. Larry comes back. It'll be a drag race to the line. Side by side. The Toyota is going to take it. Larry, by about 3 quarters of the car length, will win at Indianapolis over PTG Lucas. And now we look at this fight for 4th, 5th, and 6th. SRD Shredder, can he catch PTG Neb? I don't think so, and Wolfpack is not close enough to Shredder either. So, while PTG Speed will come home 3rd, PTG Neb will come home 4th, SRD Shredder will be 5th, who's only going to lose about 4 points to PTG Speed. Wolfpack will come home 6th. Well, the game seems to think it was 5th, but it was very obvious on the stream that was 6th. And it looks like Shredder and TFB Matter get into each other after the finish. A reminder, Matter is a lap down. He's just trying to get by so he can finish his race. And Shredder is not letting him go. TJ will get 7th. 8th will go to VER Coca. What has happened to NFL Racer? He has hemorrhaged a lot of time. Has something gone wrong to NFL Racer? He is out of fuel, and NFL Racer's strategy has seen him run out of fuel. He was fighting for what could have been a 7th place position, but he has fallen out. He's just a few hundred feet from the start-finish line, but there's no fuel in the car. He can't move. There's nothing that he can do. He's just crawling at mere inches. Can he even get to the line in time to finish? You see the entire field going by. Dean Spear has gone by. NFL Racer has gone a lap down. Is he going to lose a position of Matter as well? No. NFL Racer will just barely cross the line ahead of Matter. But for NFL Racer, who was on an alternate strategy, was being very aggressive and was putting himself into maybe a fight for 7th, he will come across the line in 12th after his fuel strategy completely falls apart. TFB Matter will come across the line. He will finally come home 13th, and Yellow Miss will eventually be 14th. But your winner is TNR Larry B. We're going to knock out an ad break, and when we come back, we'll try to talk with some of our top finishers here at Indianapolis Road Course. All right, can you hear me? Are you guys able to hear me? All right, let me double check that you guys will be able to include audio. All right, yeah, it looks like that will work. Okay, let me, excuse me. All right, Deed and Coca, can you guys step out just so the party doesn't crash? We have way too many people in here right now. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I'm knocking out this last mandatory ad break, and then we'll get interviews going. I'll start from 1st and go down to 5th here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Indianapolis Motor Speedway as we have completed the 5th race of PTG's NASCAR season, the 2nd road course race of the season, and your winner is TNR Larry B. Larry, go ahead, include your audio. That was very interesting. For a long portion of that race, it looked like you had that thing won, but the time dribbled away at the end, and it came down to a showdown to the finish. What do you have to say about your race out there?
First, I just have to say, Lucas, what a race! That was awesome. Um, just yeah, I mean, I knew I had to run the laps. I knew I just had to make him come get me. I felt like he was just marginally faster than me the whole race, and it finally all collapsed in at the end. And like I had to fight for it. He made me fight for it, and wow, even though I got the strategy right and got the gap, it was just really came down to it.
He got you go on the last lap, and then you put the bumper back to him in the last few corners. Any bad feelings there, or is it just a case of, hey, rubbing is racing?
That was just rubbing his race. And I finished second twice this season, and I was ready to I was ready to win by any means possible. I didn't want to wreck him, but I was ready to win. I wanted it.
All right, that was a fantastic drive out there. Going forward, we still have other road course races on the schedule. Do you think you can replicate this win here later in the season?
I hope so. I feel like I have a really good. I feel like I have a really good road course set up, so hopefully I can get some more big hauls of points down the line because ovals are a bit 50-50 for me. So I think I'm hopeful that I can have similar performances at future road course tracks.
Well, also with this, Larry, this will break the tie in the points for the teams championship and should put your team, the 2311 team, back at the head of the teams championship as well. So good job on that also.
Yeah, I think I'm happy to give D the points lead in the teams championship. So pretty good for all of us on that team.
All right, well, that's your word from a race winner, TNR Larry B. 5 different winners in 5 races, and it was pretty much looking like it was going to be 5 different winners anyway, but coming onto the white flag lap, it looked like maybe it was going to be PTG Lucas. Lucas, go ahead and include your audio. You started on the pole. You didn't lead the first lap, but you led a big portion of the first third of the race. Then the gap really opened up, and then you closed the gap down. Walk us through that race from your perspective.
Yeah, and same to Larry as well. GG's on that. That was that was very intense. But yeah, I opted for a more dry setup on the car. In the rain, I was quick early on, and then struggled for the majority of the rest of the stint. But straight line speed sort of helped me out. But yeah, Larry made the right call with the strategy, coming in when he did, opened it up by a couple of seconds. But overall, I felt, like I say, I think he thinks as well I was quicker, but he was really inconsistent. I struggled with consistency, just struggled with the rear of the car. But obviously, yeah, it got close at the end, too close. But yeah, it was a very, very intense race. I'm sweating very much.
I mean, I don't blame you for sweating. That was like 80 minutes of racing. There were no yellow flags, no chances to really stop and catch your breath. Even in the pit stops, you guys had to be right on top of it the moment you guys came out, because both times you guys pitted on off sequence laps. So both of you would have like a lap or two in clean air trying to gap the other one. I'm honestly shocked that you guys made that strategy fight come down that close to the end.
Yeah, it was one of them. The last lap I just dive bombed him on at the end of like the first sector, and just it worked. But obviously there's a bit of contact the last 2 corners, but hey, it's racing, it's NASCAR. You know, you're bad to have these things happen. So yeah, I don't hold any grudges for that. It's racing, and yeah, it was a really good race. So I can't complain, even at second.
Yep. Take a poll, finish second in your first race of the season. Are you going to show up to more races here in the PTG NASCAR series?
Yeah, I'll do a few more races over the season. Probably more road courses than ovals, as I'm not a big oval fan. But yeah, I'm sure I'll turn up to a few more races down the line.
All right, thanks for jumping in and talking with us. It was a fantastic drive that you had out there, Lucas.
Thank you.
Just about maybe 10 feet shy of winning in your first start.
Cheers.
All right, I want to go ahead and talk with our third place finisher, PTG Speed. Speed, this is a little bit better than where you qualified. You finished a little bit better than where you qualified. Ran in third place from about lap 11 or so and just kind of scooted away. Seemed like your race was pretty boring from my perspective. What did it seem like from your perspective?
Sorry, I was muted. Stressful as hell. Because, it wasn't a case of who was in front of me. Those two guys would have had to have completely gone off in a gravel pit and gotten out in just enough time for no yellow to happen for me to have had a chance at winning. But it was the guys behind me mainly, particularly Shredder. I'm happy that the two guys were able to get around him there. It's definitely going to bring down that massive points gap down a little bit. But I just knew at any minute I had to be on. I was practically running qualifying laps every lap because I knew at any second he could just turn it on. That's just the kind of presence he has, 5 races in. So stressful up until about, I'd say, 10 to go. Once I saw the gap really start to extend with 10 to go, I was like, okay, now I can start calming down. He's not going to get a second on me a lap. So that's where I was at.
All right, and a third place finish here, a couple with Shredder being 5th. The game seems to think he was 6th, but on screen he was obviously like 10 car lengths ahead of Wolfpack. So that closes the gap between you and him down by about 4 points.
I will change that real quick. I'm glad you said something, because...
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that closes that gap down by about 4 points. Going forward, how good of a chance do you think you still have at closing the championship fight down? It goes from a 28-point gap from you to him down to about 24 points.
Well, 7 races to go, including next week. Still not looking good for me on my end, especially even after, drop rounds get accounted for. That Miami or Watkins Glen finish is really going to hang over my head all season long, unfortunately. If this is considered a bad day for Shredder, I don't think I'm going to catch him, but you can't really hold out until there's 2 races left, maybe a race or 2. Just keep at it until you're told mathematically it's over. So just gonna keep my head down, keep cranking out thirds, maybe pull another win. Hopefully, probably at an oval. There's 4 oval races left, so I think I got 4 real good chances.
All right. Well, either way, great job at bringing home a top 3 finish and keeping yourself in championship hunt. I also believe with this result, you should move officially into second in points as well, with Dino being way down the order.
Would be nice.
Race end. Yeah. All right, so that's the word from PTG Speed. Let's go ahead and talk with PTG Neb now, as Neb came across the line in 4th. And Neb, I'm going to be 100% honest. Throughout most of that race, I was like, Neb's being really, really reserved and cautious, but I don't think that Neb actually has what it takes to fight and get aggressive. And then it was like a light switch, Neb. 10 laps to go, elbows out, everything on the line, and got you this 4th place finish ahead of the points leader. Include your audio, walk us through that race. What do you have to say about your run today, Neb?
So, it's kind of just was my game plan. I started the race just kind of. First lap was a bit chaotic, and I kind of just settled in, just kind of just wanted to run it, because I knew I hadn't done any wet practice, and I was running a dry setup, so I was thinking maybe I'll lose a bit of time in the wet section, just need to get through it, get a decent strategy. Unfortunately, Shredder spotted the Larry pit stop and followed him in, and gained quite a lot on the pit, on the transition time, but we managed to claw it back, and I think I knew from the start that I was going to be faster than Shredder in the dry, so I kind of just held it. Eventually, mid race, I was a bit sloppy, and I sorted myself out, slowly caught up, and then kind of just sat behind a bit, trying to figure Shredder out a bit, and then made a few moves. But then ultimately, to be honest, the thing that got me past was Wolfpack doing things, being a team player, I guess. Just causing chaos in the pack, but I think it all ended up quite well for me. I don't know if Shredder all the same say the same, but it's just kind of how hard racing goes in NASCAR, I guess. But the switchbacks were amazing until they didn't work, and then I had to keep trying and trying and trying. But eventually I got it, and I'm quite happy with that because I didn't think I'd have the pace to be where I was today. So overall, quite happy. If I can keep this performance up at the road courses in the rest of the season, I'll be quite happy.
Well, with a 4th place finish here, Neb, I think this pretty definitively says that you are one of the championship players. Going forward, there's still plenty of ovals left, plenty of road courses left. What do you think your chances are in fighting for the championship this season?
I've kind of wrote it off after the first few rounds. I know my drop is going to get used because I'm going to miss a race. So I've kind of written that off. I'm kind of just trying to run as high as I can. I'd love to finish like maybe top 3, top 5 point standings maybe. But I'm kind of just running for trying to fluke a win out now, to be honest.
Well, sometimes the most dangerous people are the people who have nothing to lose, and at least from my perspective, that seemed to be the case for you today. It became pretty obvious that you weren't going to be any worse than 6th, and you weren't going to be any better than 4th, and you would probably be most aggressive. If I had to give driver of the day, I think it would definitely go to you for your performance out there.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that is the word from our 4th place finisher, PTG Neb. Now I want to talk with our 5th place finisher and points leader coming into this race, SRD Shredder. Shredder, go ahead, include your audio. Yeah, that was a race. For a long time, I thought, okay, Shredder's going to settle in 3rd and just kind of walk off. But it seems like throughout the entire day, you guys kind of bled time, and you did not seem to have the pace when you were running solo compared to the other drivers around you. What do you have to say about your run out there today?
I hate this track. I couldn't find or make a tune that worked around any corner. I was using the same tune for Watkins, and that one worked quite well at the curbs of Watkins, but I couldn't do anything to get it to work around the curbs here, so I was suffering for the most. But in the rain, I think I had probably top 3 or the fastest car out there, but everyone around me just decided to give up trying and roadblock the entire way, so couldn't make up much ground there. And then the dries, I could get 60% of a lap good, and I'll just settle for the rest of 40% of it, and then couldn't do anything then. And I got caught up on a lapped car, I think it was, and then I just had a 3-way fight with Neb and Wolfpack until the very end.
Well, you're still going to maintain your points lead. It's still over half of a race worth of points. You're still going to have, I believe, 24 points in the lead after this race. Yay. Do you think you still have enough of a lead that you can bring home the championship, or do you think that, okay, now the heat's catching up, now you actually have to properly defend and start thinking points for the rest of the season?
I mean, if I properly defend, I'm more likely to get sent around, and also with the issues I'm having with the game, I can't be certain as to what. If you ever try and block someone and the game freezes, then I go around and they can just drive off free with nothing happening to them. So I'm in a box where I can't really be ahead of anyone, and I can't really defend from anyone. And also, Oval coming up next week. On one hand, it's me and Oval, and I'll probably do good there just on pace, but on the other hand, it's me on the Oval, so something's probably going to happen that's going to put me into a wall, and I'm going to finish 13th or something.
All right, well, we'll be looking forward to seeing how that turns out. Thanks for jumping in and talking with us. One other question I do want to ask, though. With TNR Larry winning the race, this puts your team, the Little Shred team, back in 2nd in the Teams Championship. Do you think you have a way to try and close that gap back down on Deed Speeman's team with Larry in it going forward?
I mean, winning races is going to do that, but the team thing was just for fun. So it's not the biggest priority. The biggest priority is the Drivers' Championship. And if we do well in the Team Championship, that's just an added bonus on top.
Fair enough. I can't fault you for that brutally honest mindset. Well, either way, Shredder, 1st at the Oval, 5th on the road course. It's not too terribly bad. And with that in mind, that will wrap up our broadcast here. A very interesting race. We go flag to flag, green from start to finish. Had some rain early on, and despite that, we still had a long, drawn-out 3-way fight for fourth most of the day, and the top two were side by side at the checkered flag. Definitely one of those races that is going to go down as a classic. I highly encourage you all to go back and watch it again. But until next time, I've been your host for today's race, Insane Leader 13. Thank you very much for joining us today. Farewell and goodbye, everyone.